Okay, so there we go. Rocking the live, and here I am. Ooh, still got my hair in the kundumbi. There's nobody here yet, just arrived. For any of you that are newly arriving, I think it's going to be an interesting little conversation today. Naturally, I'm speaking for the retrospective people that have yet to arrive. Big love, namaste to whoever's in the room. You're the first arriver. Let me know who you are. Maybe I give you something special, because you're so very special. Big love, there's two of you in the space. We're going to be kicking off in a few minutes. I've only just walked into the room like 1 minute ago. Not even 30 seconds. Ah, good bit of cocoa. Namaste, big love, out tuition. Hey man, it's rocking. It's rocking and rolling. Ooh, my lighting. I need to look pretty. Ooh. There we go. There's my pretty looking instruments. Things to make me look pretty. Huh? How's that for looking pretty? That's my cocoa that makes me feel pretty. Namaste, big love, Roddy. How are you doing? Rodney. Oh, dang, this cocoa is good. It's my second cup of cocoa, naturally, because I'm not so big on doing things in ones. There we go. It's more like what we're looking for here. I think that's a better setup for the mic. Ouch. Uh-oh. We have a cheeky little co-pilot rocking up on the scene. So, wow, there we go. There's 9 of you in the space already. So big love. Dear Carly, how are you? I'm curious. Namaste to the people that are arriving in the space. Blessed be. It seems like I've got this little guy has been heavy maintenance today. Trying to keep him off everything. And whatever I touch, he wants to touch. Whatever I eat, he wants to eat. Big love, Rob. Good day. How you doing, dear brother? I hope you guys are all smiling. 21 of you in the space already. Wow. Okay. So it seems that this small world is a bit of a hot topic, and it's something which is very close to my heart. I'm going to start off with what I was doing 15 years ago. Yeah, what I was doing 15 years ago and how that relates to this particular topic, which I think is quite interesting. It's going to be a short one today. It's not going to be a long one. Let me know if the audio is good. That should be a good audio. Is that good? Let me check my people settings audio. So there we go. I'm talking with my audio. It seems to be working perfectly well. Yeah. So let me know if there's any issues with the audio, if it's at all clipping, if it's all 15 years ago, you were 1 year sober. Well, it was a good time 15 years ago, wasn't it? Gosh. It was a good time. It was a time of that was like on the tail end of Occupy, if you guys remember. 15 years ago is like going into 2012. Occupy was on big swing. I'd been doing a lot of activism work, and I'd dealt with a lot of occult forces as an activist. How's that for something to consider? Psychic, spiritual forces being used by them that confront activism. UBS Bank. They had the Magic Circle on the case. The Magic Circle is a group, it's a legal firm, but it's a lot more than a legal firm, as the name suggests. Big love, how are you doing? Hope you're well. Hope you're thriving. How do I say that? Piotr Kalinowski. Piotr Kalinowski. Is that right? Is that how it's said? Piotr Kalinowski. I don't know. I can't speak those languages. I wish I could. I'd love to be able to. That's just how my gut says to pronounce those syllables. So let me know if I said your name at all wrong, and tell me like where I can learn. Always up for learning when it comes to language. So yeah, this whole thing with the mall world. At that time, my experience of activism had really geared me in to just how the occult was being utilized. And I had been offering my services to Joanna Summerscales, who was working with I forget who. They were doing the Amash project and the Basis project. But the Amash project was specifically to help people that had been PSYOPed by the government. And they were based in the UK, working mostly with the MyLabs people, because MyLabs is the equivalent of PSYOP mind control military operations in England, connected obviously to MI5 and MI6, right? MI5 for the recruitment, MI6 for the implementation, because a lot of it's done off grid outside of the UK purview. It's basically MK Ultra, but the British version is called MyLabs. Anyway, I was offering my services to Joanna Summerscales and her partner at the time. Why can't I think of his name? He was an ex-radio person who used to work for BBC. And basically, yeah, to help people with PSYOP issues, the psychic phenomenon. And so I was brushing up against these people. I was attracting them out of the woodwork. And I mean, I would go and sit next to someone in a park and I would pick up, through my senses, that there's something going on with this one. And, it's true as Bob. They take me home and show me their NHS documents, military documents, discharge forms, freedom of information applications, what they were given, national security blackout, that kind of thing. And I had noticed that there was quite a lot of people experiencing this underground bases, military installation, like underground cities that were like underground bases, right? So now there's a lot of people that are experiencing what they are considering to be underground, built-in shopping malls. And here I'm going to share some ideas. I once was projectile vomiting Free Palestine after trying to channel a world peace meditation. Yep. Yeah. It's been right. Makes sense, Carly. You are particularly sensitive. Your ESP is bubbling. So anyway, these dreams people were having. Now I'll bump this back. I was working with a lot of people that were activists that were being attacked psionically at the time, right? Because they nicknamed me Gandalf because I was the father of a movement, right? And had my little stick that I was hobbling around with because I'd actually twisted my ankle back to front on the roof. And I was responsible for a lot of what was happening in terms of activism, in terms of taking big corporations to court, actually literally taking them to court, right? Not just, and organizing protests on the streets and getting venues and getting big movements of people together and acting as a hub to bring together lots of people. And I was doing a lot of talking. I was doing a lot of speaking at Occupy and at every different rally that there was, and traveling all around England, the UK to go and collaborate with different groups of activists, bring them together as hubs and connect their hub to our hub as a central HQ where we were based, and we were the only group that were legitimately based. And by legitimately based, I mean we weren't on the street like Occupy. I was helping Occupy, but we were the bank of ideas, and it was all about the bank of ideas. We were looking for solutions. And so I had a lot of huge networks of people that were coming to me, and a lot of them were getting, very disturbing dreams. And I noticed this pattern that a lot of people were having the same dreams. And they were very much based upon what seemed like underground facilities. And there's a very powerful parallel here with the Moor world. And I'll explain to you just now how this works. And so I had, after working in this activist circle, I'd given too much of my energy, because when you're the father of a movement, I was one of two fathers of a movement, but I was like the one that brought everybody together and kept the peace and kept the working groups synergized. Phoenix was the the most connected of us all, and the most senior, who I had a lot of respect for, looked up to a lot, learned a lot from him in terms of activism. One of the oldest activists in the UK that's been doing big things. And there was another guy, a younger guy, Chris, who was with us, who was really a good guy. I had a lot of love and respect for him. He was a really humble, beautiful soul. And so the three of us became like the trinity of the movement. You always need three people because it's anarchism, right? And anarchism can't have a structure with a leader per se. There has to be always three of you, right? Because it keeps the balance. Because there can't just be two of you that are just aligned with one idea, acting as one. There's always going to be three. And when there's three of you as a dynamic, there's going to be a shift. You're not always going to agree on everything, which is useful, and it keeps it real. So anyway, when you've got hundreds of anarchists that are part of your movement, you are under constant scrutiny, right? Are you becoming like them? You know, the 1% that we're fighting against. And so working with a lot of these people one-to-one, because I'm a shaman, I wasn't working my career. I put my career on pause, but I was using my skills to help people that were being under attack, psychic and spiritual attack, which was common. And the dreams was a massive part of what was happening. After me leaving the movement, I had a bit of malnutrition because I had basically not been eating. I'd been fasting for long periods of time. I'd just been working. I had to maintain a psychic perimeter around the buildings we were in, because literally they were spelling us. If I left the building for 24 hours or 36 hours, I would come back and the sigils would be all over the walls. I'd have to have the walls repainted, cleaned, and I'd have to do a full purification, like dedicate all my energy towards it. It was hard work. In order to keep the peace in the space, to keep the synergy of brotherhood and sisterhood together. So anyway, after that movement, I ended up getting connected with a girlfriend, someone I was very close to, was very in love with her. And she was an amazing artist, very psychically and spiritually gifted as well, naturally. All the women I've ever been with are very profoundly spiritually and psychically gifted. It's just been the way that my synergy works life. It's the kind of woman I connect with. And, harmonic resonance and all. So she had been suffering for a long time with abduction and all sorts of things. And not suffering. She was quite strong. She wasn't freaked out by it. But I had a lot of other friends that I was working with at the time, and different clients and such with these problems. And she was constantly being taken into these underground facilities, psychically doing her dreamscapes. And she would be running around inside these underground facilities trying to find ways out. And there was this thing that I had to sat her down. I said, listen, my work, this comes up as a theme a lot. So I started researching just exactly how many people is this, because this is so common with many of the people that come to me. What's going on here? And I noticed it was a thing at the time. Now the thing is shopping malls, right? Mall world. But it's exactly the same idea, really. Because what we're calling Mall World is the same. Now, how does this work? And I'll give you a background from the occult perspective. How the easiest way for me to explain it to you is to explain it to you as if, imagine I was a magician and I wanted to spell a group of people or someone and lock them into a particular dream prison that I've created for them, right? This is a school of magic. It happens. And it can be really detrimental towards people's state of mind and equilibrium. And it's a form of black magic. But how would one go about doing this? The reason we're going to look at how this would go is to understand what the powers that be, the 1%, and those ruling magical fraternities that have within them secret circles of actual true initiates of the black arts, how would they achieve this, right? How would they achieve it? Well, they would achieve it by using the most simplest way would be illusion, using neuro-linguistic triggers, right? That would be the easiest way to spell people, since they don't have access to people's DNA specifically in a big way, not at that time. Big love, Unsecure. How are you, Unsecure Signal? I hope you're well. Hope you're good. Hope you're thriving. Hope life is sweet. Yes, exactly, Rob. You know, Rob, this is what I'm talking about. And tell me, Rob, that's an interesting question. Those tunnel cities you're talking about that are underground, yeah? Was that happening about 10 years ago? 10 to 15 years ago, when were you experiencing those tunnel cities as such? That's a curious point. Timing is really important. And you, Secure Signal, were you also in those? What about you, Carly? Were you all moving through those kind of spaces? I sometimes found myself in them, but I was never really interested in them. I would just change my frequency. It wouldn't happen so much when I was asleep. It would happen more when I'm awake. And when I was awake, I would go into that sort of place where I'm not fully awake, but I'm awake. And I can disengage, and I would follow to see where my ex-girlfriend was going. And I'd see, wow, she's going to this place. And I'd see where she went, and I'd be able to study it outside of the body, using what you would term commonly as remote viewing, most often. Sometimes objectively projecting into the matrix, but it never, I couldn't be fooled by it, possibly because I hadn't bought into that particular physically into them. Right, Rob, you were building those buggers. Of course, you're a stonemason. Yeah. So the way that one would do this magically, right, would be to load neuro-linguistic triggers and programs into other forms of programming. The programming would be animation, different, because animation and anime, most likely because it's the easiest form of programming for someone, as well as other series and films, using code words, using illusion magic. And I just want to step back from here. We're not talking about high magic. We're not talking about occult power. Occult power would be one way to do it. That would be to tap into the secret pranic energy field and influence somebody else using that pranic field by capturing some essence of their DNA vibration, either touching their energy and remembering the frequency and being able to pitch and harmonically tune to them, and create an inductive field between yourself and them. And then that becomes a potential for entrainment. And then to entrain that field through vibrations and pitch harmonics and allow images and ideas to filter through that field to affect someone else's consciousness. That would be a far more profound way of doing it using occult powers. However, these black magicians are not really true magicians. They are illusionists. They don't have these abilities because they haven't trained. They mostly come from a background of chaos magic. And chaos magicians haven't trained, so they don't have the necessary potential to raise a full cone, right? Like a true magician, to raise true occult power takes lots of training, tens of thousands of hours of sitting contemplating a fire, right? Sitting contemplating the wind, sitting contemplating the water and the ocean, really making a bond with elements, right? Bonding with those elemental energies and entities and profound levels of consciousness and frequencies within one's own body and in the world doesn't happen in just 1,000 hours, right? We're talking tens of thousands of hours of training, learning to get into a really central focused perspective of point so that one is then able to attune to whatever one attunes to. But that takes lots and lots of training. And these people don't train that hard. But what they learn is clever, nifty, illusionist tactics, right? Like Darren Brown, good example, using mentalism techniques. And so they would use these mentalism techniques in our films and in our series, especially anime, comic books, hidden in the music, right? So you would watch a particular genre of TV show, and that TV show would give you a particular genre of music so that you're pitched to that frequency of that music and that show. And there would be unconscious suggestions within that of certain kinds of comics, certain kinds of things. So you would get a narrative sculpted for you by what you feed your mind in terms of entertainment. And this would then grow. It would grow into you, grow onto you, until you're listening to that music that's giving you that subliminal message, reading that comic that's giving you that subliminal message, watching that film that gives you that subliminal message, watching this anime that gives you that subliminal message, and playing that computer game that gives you this. And they would all be in a particular genre because advertising is like this. They advertise A when they advertise D, when they advertise M and R. So you unconsciously make a connection between those different letters because you see them together. And then they start flooding you with one, then the other, until you start to appreciate A and M and R and D. And next thing, you're following all of those genres and you're getting all of that unconscious programming of NLP into your psyche using sound code, using unconscious programmed triggers within the media that you're watching and the games that you're playing. And so they would lock people in, fill the gap. Yeah. They would lock people into a frequency where they are able to engage with them in their dreams. They would then have psychotronic technology and abductions. Yes, I said it right, ladies and gentlemen. Abductions. They would have physical abductions and they would have psychic abductions. They would have specially formulated drugs that will be disseminated to people on dance floors that have been made by alchemists in particular ways and pitched with particular vibrational fields that are pitched to some people that are actually true black magicians. These are not just the illusionists that I'm talking about. These are the ones that can wield occult forces. These would then conduct ceremonies to entrain the groups of people on those drugs, on the dance floors, with the music that's feeding you that unconscious information while you're watching the content and getting in. So drugs was a part of it. Alternative culture was a part of it. And the people would then start to have their dreams invaded. And obviously, the abductions would sometimes be physical abductions by military personnel. And they don't only work alone, they work with off-world beings. This might be a lot to take in, people, but it is what it is. And these people, let me give you an example of how it works. One night, they were trying to entrain us in the house where we were living. And we were downstairs, and there was something above our house. This was in Croydon, Really nice part of Croydon where all the waterways are. We stayed there for a few years. And there was something above our house in a big cloud. I saw it afterwards. There was a lot of light coming out of that cloud. And it was making the sound like upstairs. And my girlfriend started to get really scared at the time, my then girlfriend. And her name was Lim. That's just part of her name. I won't say her whole name, just to keep her like a little bit private. And that's Chinese. It's just half of her name. And what was a nickname that she was called by. And she got really scared. So I went upstairs to confront what this was. And when I got upstairs, I could feel everything was vibrating and I could feel there was resonance in the air. And I noticed that what was vibrating was a ladder in the ceiling. So it was happening in the ceiling. So I opened the ceiling and I pulled it down to go up there because it was like a trapdoor. No, Lim, Lim in English, Lim, Chinese. She was Chinese, half British. And actually Lim, but in Western it's called her Lim, you know. And it was half of her name. It's a double syllable name, 2 characters. And so I pulled down. There was like a thing at the top where we had a hook with a little stick, and I could reach up, and there was a catch that I would loosen, and I would pull down this thing, and a ladder would come folding downwards. And the moment I clicked it, it got really loud, and I started opening it, and I could see it was vibrating. And I noticed, hold on, the ladder was like doing this. It was like moving. And I pulled it down, and I noticed the whole ladder was vibrating, and I noticed there were certain minerals, that like elements around the upstairs that were vibrating in the roof. And it was the frequency of aluminium. So the pitch harmonic frequency of aluminium was the key. What's harmonic pitch frequency of sound is aluminum tuned to. I wonder if I'll be able to get a good answer here. Yes, it depends on its shape and its thickness. 128 hertz. They are, okay, so these have got to do with pitchforks, right? Anyway, aluminium can have this reaction with sound quite easily. And pulling it down slowly, I stopped and I stood there looking, and the whole ladder was vibrating, and I stood there for a while. And I called my girlfriend upstairs. I said, come upstairs. And she came upstairs, like she was a bit wary. She was scared, but because I was up there, she felt safe. She had seen other weird stuff with me, by the way, like big flying lights, balls of light and stuff. And I'd shown her like a lot of really interesting stuff. I'd also taught her how to scry into a crystal ball to see the lizards, the lizard beings. Yeah, the ones that are working with many agencies. That taught her how to be able to keep an eye on them, to scry on them. So if they were watching her, she could see them watching her through a ball. It's like a nifty trick. So you can know who's watching you. And so anyway, she came up and she was like trying to understand what was going on. And I touched it and it was vibrating. And it carried on and on and on and on. Standing there for like 5 minutes and the thing was going like, ooh. And I noticed that the vibrations were coming from above. So I went out the back door and I looked up above the house, and there was this one really massive, thick cloud right above the house, really, really, really low. And I called her. I said, come look at this. She was like, that's weird. This cloud's like one really low cloud. There was some other few clouds, but they were high. But this one cloud was just like right above the house, like low. And there was like lights inside the clouds. Looked like lightning or something, but it wasn't like the weather for it. And we both marveled at like, what is this above the house? And I said to her, there is something above the house that is tuning this harmonic frequencies down into this roof. And notice how it's exactly above our house. No coincidence there, right? And between 50 and 500 hertz gets a ring. Okay, interesting. And I almost want to say it's like in the B range, hovering and moving between A and B, right? Around that kind of frequency, A sharp, B, right? Maybe even touching onto not quite C. But anyway, those were the frequencies that I seem to remember. It's been a long time. We're talking about more than, what are we talking about, 15 years? Almost 15 years at that point. But like I'd been researching this prior to that, like with clients and stuff. But that was, and I realized that was something really profound, and it was there to tune consciousness. And it was late at night. We would have maybe been sleeping, but we weren't sleeping because we'd been making love for about 3-4 hours. And so we were so wired awake with Kundalini energy that we were up at 3 a.m, right? Because instead of going to bed, we made love from like 10 p.m. until 2 a.m. And we went downstairs and we were having a spliff, right? And a snack because we were both like tired. And our Kundalini was so fired up with energy. It was intense. Like you couldn't sleep because there was just too much energy and vibration everywhere. And so anyway, that was like one example of how technology is used. Now they have these fields that they can generate, and they can target certain places. They can put microchips into people that have been abducted physically. And they can send out signals through these microchips so that they can find you and localize those frequencies onto you to activate something in your neurochemistry. And then they load you with big love, Natalie. Namaste. How are you doing? I hope you're well. Thank you so much for the gift you're sending me. I'm so looking forward to it. I'm so grateful. It's going to be so much fun. Natalie's made me some tinctures. So thank you once again. Om Namah Shivaya. So yeah, they can combine the sublime suggestion with the NLP, with the music, with the films, and these days games. Those days games too, but these days games are more of a thing. So at that time, they were using the base route line program of underground cities and underground bases. And they were these underground bases and underground parking lots and underground places that would just go on and on and on forever. And people would find themselves in these things, trying to get out of them in dreams. And they would wake up really tired because they've been in this place for so long trying to get out of it. And they finally wake up and they're finally out of that place. And it's quite disturbing. Now, what we have happening is that so your whole hometown, Carly? Now what we have happening is the same thing, only it's malls, shopping malls. But they're also enclosed. I think that the unconscious is being abducted into a fabricated etheric plane. I want you guys to digest this for a moment. So we have the actual etheric plane, which is part of the structure of reality. These are the structures and the solid forms through which the prana and the energy and the Shakti flows in order to produce the change that we experience as time. You need the Ida and the Pingala. You need these two polarities in order for it to become a manifestation of space-time. And that's the word there. Notice the word, space-time, right? Time is the change. Space is the substance. The space and the substance is structure of solid, and the time is the flow of change that's moving through it. And the flow of change is got to do with the qualities that are embodied by the structures that embody the qualities. So you have the sephirot, you have the structures, and you have the chakras spinning the energy, and the energy of the spinning fills the sephirot, the containers, producing these elements. And these elements are then combinations of these different sephirot with the chakra energy vibrating in it. And these different changes, we experience them as atoms and molecules and such, become physical. So these two poles are fundamentally important for the manifestation of reality at all. And so exactly. Space is structure and space is the medium. Yeah, Rob. So basically the etheric plane, when we speak of the etheric, is this substance, right? Is this structuring substance. And the energetic flow moving through that is the astral. And the astral has to be flowing through this in order to animate it. Without the qualities flowing through it, there can be no animation. It would just be that. When it's flowing through it, it produces change. And that change is like from one clip to another clip to another clip of 3D. Imagine a 3D film, but that's not just visual, but it's consisting of all the senses, a hyperdimensional experience of film, if you would, that superimposes one tesseract over another, so fast and so succinctly that you've got the flow of moments and time. As you're moving from one tesseract into another tesseract, you don't realize it because the consciousness is flowing through the tesseracts. But the tesseracts are all dimensionally connected. They're all here now. They give us the impression of flowing from here to there, flowing from the past to the future, but it's just got to do with which tesseracts are brought into the awareness right now. And there's almost an infinite amount of tesseracts around us in this hyperdimensional space. So this etheric structuring, I think, is being changed. I think they are maybe using technology, and I'm not going to pretend to know how or what technology they're using to change it, but it would be to do with frequencies. We know that there's a lot of money used for, condensers and colliders, right? CERN. And we also know there's a lot of these super farm data centers. And we know that they've got quantum computers which generate quantum fields, which are the field of information is being shaped and moved outside of the physical body. We're talking about in subquantum space is where the computer is doing its math, as it were. So that can then affect the subquantum fields and possibly change it depending upon what code we're running through the system. So it makes them extremely dangerous, which is why we don't have access to them. And as well as that, we've also got a lot of beings that have been able to manifest certain potentials and powers and abilities. And this is being added to it from the other side, as it were. So there's a synergy of beings and people on this plane that are shaping, using the frequencies, using technology, and using the consciousness of people that is being molded by the neuro-linguistic programming and the manipulation, which is essentially wizardry. It's a form of witchcraft, right? If you think of what hypnosis is witchcraft. It's a form of witchcraft. It's a form of magic. And so if you're being hypnotized, then they're casting spells upon you. Especially if the hypnosis is being using neuro-linguistic triggers, which has got to do with words and phrases, which are then locking you into that particular state of mind that word or phrase represents, and it's repetitively being used to lock you in until you believe that you need to be locked in because you aren't capable of maintaining your own, at which point you become disassociated from reality and disassociated from the group. And so this is what's being done. Now, I think that this whole phase of Mall World is being created using the psychotronic technology, and people are being inducted into the Mall World and being bound in these Mall Worlds so that their dream time is locked in, and it's part of an experiment. A lot of people that have been experimented on using all sorts of psychotronic technology, and believe me, there are a lot of you. You might not realize how common it is. There are stories. Listen to this funny story. Okay, this is a funny one. There is a story of somebody that woke up wearing somebody else's clothes. I want you to digest this. There's a lot of these stories out there, but there's some that are well better known than others. And there were two women that met at a UFO conference in the US. And both of them were there because they felt they had been abducted. And one of them was, both of them, but each one of them had basically lost their clothes. So whoever abducted them got the clothes mixed up. I want you to understand what I'm saying. So there was one lady there that had come back wearing another lady's clothes. And the other lady was wearing the other lady's clothes. And they were not from the same neighborhood. They were from different places in the States. From like a distance apart. I don't know, 1,000 miles, 500 miles, thousands of miles. I can't remember the exact details, but they were far away from each other. Not neighboring towns, like we're talking far. And they were at a UFO conference, and the one lady went to the other lady and said, "Those are the clothes, those are my clothes. I was wearing those clothes when I was abducted. And I came back in these clothes." And the other lady turned around to that lady and she was like, "What's my clothes are those clothes? Is there a name sewn into the clothes, such and such a name? Marking? Tag?" And one of them was like, "Yes, it's mine." And so these two ladies met at a conference wearing each other's clothes. They were able to swap their clothes back. And so this is to give you an idea. Those that are doing the abducting aren't always so tuned into what they're doing. They get it wrong. They sometimes put you back on the ground wearing the wrong clothes, wearing the wrong shoes. And this is how people know they've been abducted. Because they come back and they're wearing somebody else's clothes. And believe me, this happens. So these abductions are far more common than what people give them credit for. And as if that's not enough, there are even psychic dream abductions that happen. People that have natural ESP potential can be abducted in dream time using psychotronic technology by other beings that work in conjunction. And I've witnessed this too, where I've intervened with my ex-wife when they were trying to abduct her psychotronically. Like it's a kind of a mental astral abduction, literally. So yeah, this is a thing that happens. So I believe that part of what's happening has got to do with this abduction story, and it gets better. A lot of the people that are being tuned, right, that are being, their frequencies are being shifted, are people that play games. Yeah, it's most prevalent in the gaming community. There's certain games that people play, and if they play those games, they're more likely to end up dreaming that they're in dream world. Yeah. Namaste, Darlene. How are you? I hope you're well. I hope you're having an absolutely great day. So yeah, the Mall world exists in dream world. Now, there are tens of thousands of people in the US alone that dreaming in dream world. Around the world, there are hundreds of thousands of people reporting that they are experiencing dream worlds, which are Mall worlds. There are groups of people that have connected on the internet, and They are having the same perceptions and the same experiences in dreams. And the malls that they're experiencing look the same, even though they might be 10,000 or 3,000 miles apart. And so people have started mapping these mall worlds. And they've started drawing maps. And there are airports down there. There's a common theme. Airports. Some of the malls have indoor amusement parks. Some of them have an indoor exit point that goes straight into the sea. They got the beach there. So these mall worlds are quite extensive, and some of them are endless toilet worlds where they're reaching like toilets, or endless food courts where there's just food courts and food courts and food courts, and they go through and through. And that would not be, a very well, let's just put it this way. Like, how do you even make this stuff up, right? What are the likelihood of a whole lot of people dreaming about a place, and when they start comparing notes, it's the same, and they can actually go and meet each other in this world? And they do, and they journey together through these mall worlds trying to find ways out. And the landmarks are consistent. So people find themselves back in the same dream world, but it's a massive world that goes on and on and on, and you could be in different places in that world. But extensively, a lot of the dream worlds related to this world people have been mapping them out. So it's very fascinating and interesting, the extent to how many people are having these experiences, and the reports that are coming out from these people are all very similar. Now, I can speak in terms of experiencing out of the body very much. And our unconscious, before we've learned how to consciously project into the etheric plane pure consciousness, our unconscious is going to sculpt and try to write up the software of our experience so that it matches things that we know in the physical world. And so why are these redundant dream worlds that are being used? There's endless speculation by people, right? But at the same time, there's also a fundamental shift that's happening within everybody. And I do get the sense that this shift has got to do with us being able to recognize things, maybe not specifically specifically this reality of this dream world, but to recognize aspects within ourselves of the consciousness field, and then pin that to experiences or neurolinguistic images, or images within certain anime or within certain cartoons or comics or films that have been carefully planted into our unconscious for us to unravel and unfigure on a psychological plane, and then be able to literally plant into it this elemental consciousness. So yeah, there's a lot going on with these mall worlds, and it's not just psychological. They want to explain it in terms of pure psychology, in the same way that people want to explain something in a nice two-dimensional explanation, where all the answers are nice and carefully crafted, and it's all really simple, and everything fits in, and everything still has a place. But in truth, I don't see that being the reality personally. I see people being lost spiritually, and because they're being spiritually lost, they're being manipulated through magic, being manipulated through witchcraft techniques that are hidden in our social media, that are basically locking us into these places where they can get hold of us and start to manipulate our perception, because it's like a softening up place, right? I don't think the mall world acts like a conscientious space. I think it's a paradigm that is upheld by the group mind, and it's been carefully crafted and sculpted. So anyway, that's what I wanted to share with you guys about this place. What do you guys think? Let's take a look at the comments. What do you guys think? I don't have much time. I have to go and see my boys soon. Yeah, very often when psychotronic technology is being used, it affects other technology. That's an interesting point. Something I've observed and noticed. I've had a lot of run-ins with psychotronic technology, with other beings and beings that can use psychotronic technologies, and it's interesting how it seems to relate to what's happening to our other sort of energies and how this sort of affects our consciousness. I do think, though, that there's a lot to be considered. There's a lot to be understood when we look at this. And there's a lot to be taken into account to understand the very nature of the quantum field and the electricity and the magnetism that runs through the quantum field. Gives us an insight to be able to hold within our hearts the specific knowledge that is required for us to be able to reach a polarizing state, or a state of balance and harmony that is keeping each of the polarities in check to form a natural and, to be honest, rather beautiful reflection within. And instead of us experiencing like these horrible Moor worlds, we could be in our dream state sitting in front of the most beautiful trees. And that would have like a very different effect on our vibrational fields. So that's what I wanted to share with you guys. Yes, exactly, Carly. It's like dilapidated. It's dilapidated, and it seems like it's not it's not being cared for. That's the first thing you notice, and I think that's by design, because that way you can't notice the glitches, the imperfections. If you add a lot of imperfections into a piece of software, into an image, then you won't notice the inherent imperfections, because they'll be hidden in an ocean of other imperfections. I think that's really what we are dealing with here. And I get a strong sense that that's probably why we have not seen or heard much more. But yeah, we're running up to the hour point now. I'm going to be signing off in the next few minutes. I just thought, if there's any questions, if anybody's got any questions, fire away. Anything you want to say, now's your chance. I'll take a look in the comments and see if I see any. Okay. The further you go into the more, I would also say, whoops, knocking that. AI is a big part of this, right? I think the more has been constructed by AI. And I wonder whether the technology in our bodies with relation to COVID is part of this, because our eyes and our ears could be the fundamental pieces. Does it make sense? The pieces that keep you human, the pieces that stop you from being just, an AI bot, if you will. And we see how many people are being programmed to think like bots and to behave like bots, and to lose their natural compassion and their empathy, and not to behave in the humane way. And our food has been turned into inhumane. Our behavior, our our media that we're being shown is not humane anymore. There's a lot of narcissism and cruelty being spread. And apparently these people were much more common to meet up with, right? And I don't think that there's necessarily much that we're going to be able to gain spiritually from these more worlds. People think that it's some kind of a special teaching tool for them. It's not. It's like a mental, psychological, spiritual cage. I think people need to realize this for what it is, that it's not something positive. It's not something that's a great, like you just haven't got the momentum to get over the hill because you need more. It doesn't work like that. Sorry to say, this is purely to do with the particular consciousness that they changed in her. And yeah, that's where I'm going to leave this conversation for today before I start sliding into a trance so deeply that I go out of my body and I'm there, which is almost starting to happen now. And I'm seeing a female consciousness that's being used as a vehicle. So there must be a high priestess that is being used in particular places that's being part of the initiation, bringing people into the fold, and a group of wizards around her that focus that energy. And this could be what's pulling people. And I notice as well, like the buttons, for example. Yeah. The buttons that are being pressed in our unconscious are being pressed by this aspect of our feminine energy, which is being manipulated. And they want to manipulate our feminine energy. This is why we're all being masculinized. Why women are being taught to behave like men, to repress their feminine, and why men are being taught to repress their masculine, but not be in tune with their feelings either, because it's not masculine enough. So they create this dissidence between the sexes, and it opens everybody up to becoming in tune with being affected by the feminine energy, which are the feelings and the emotions and the unconscious potential that's really could be a problem if she goes forth and uses that, because I would suggest not. But regardless, there we go. That's what I think is important with regards to these dream worlds and these more worlds. I hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. I hope you got what you came for. I'm sending you all big love and big blessings. And don't forget to smile. Life is very, very short. You have 2 or 3 recurring dreams, huh? Wild ones. It's not a mall. All right. Hello, Tracy. Sending you much love. Big blessings. I hope you're good. You're totally right. We need to reactivate our mental potential and take back our spiritual and psychic abilities and our powers. But I'm going to leave it at that. We've now reached 58, 59 minutes. I wanted this to be under an hour. I promised my boy I'm going to spend some time with him. Sending you all much love, much blessings. Take care. Keep it together. If you find yourself in the mall world, remember, it's psychotronic. The triggers have been set. So if you go into a deep self-contemplation and a meditation, you can find those triggers and you can disable them because they are within you. Remember that. Right? The whole thing's happening within you. That gives you the fundamental power. And all you need to do is to shine the light of awareness inwards and gain that insight of what's happening on the fundamental psychic spiritual realms. And that will give you the potential to be able to rewire the way that you're being affected by all of these symbols, and to change certain symbols that aren't going to be useful. And so that's what I've noticed. So sending you all big love, big blessings, and be well. Om Shanti. Thank you for coming to join me for this little discussion. And